We will have ample time and opportunity for networking. That is going to be during the lunch break. For now, I'll request all of you to please return. We are now going to begin our next session on MSME growth set for a big bounce back. Now, we are expecting the Honorable Minister, Shri Narayan Rane, at 1:30. So we need to wrap up this session before that. And we will once again be giving the next set of awards during our next session when the Minister will be here amongst us. So for now, on this session on MSME growth set for a big bounce back, let me first of all invite on stage Mr. Avinash Gupta, co-chairman of the ASSOCHAM MSME Development Council and Managing Director and CEO of Dun & Bradstreet Information Services India Private Limited. Please put your hands together, everybody, for Mr. Avinash Gupta. Ladies and gentlemen, we just had some tea. Let's show some energy here and welcome all of our dignitaries. Mr. Sanjay Notani, Partner Economic Laws Practice, will also be talking to us in this session. Dr. Ramanand N. Shukla, Director, Z Quality Council of India. Ms. Jayati Singh, Global Head, Marketing Tally Solutions Private Limited. Shri Akshith Khandelwal, Founder and CEO of Newflower Foods and Nutrition Private Limited. We'll also be having Mr. Sanjay Kaushik, Managing Director, Netrika Consulting. Shri P. Uday Kumar, Director Planning and Marketing, the National Small Industries Corporation Limited. Shri Paritosh Singhal, Additional CEO, Government E-Marketplace, GEMSPV. Dr. S. Glory Swarupa, Director General, National Institute of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Ministry of MSME, and Shri Sushil Swaragi, Co-Chairman of the ASSOCHAM MSME Development Council, Managing Director, Core Energy India Private Limited. A distinguished panel once again this afternoon to elaborate on MSME growth set for a big bounce back. Let's all welcome them once again with a round of applause. Please join me in welcoming them, everybody. And once again, I'll request Mr. Avinash Gupta to kindly present a plant sapling and welcome Dr. S. Glory Swarupa. On behalf of all of us here at ASSOCHAM, I'll request Shri Avinash Gupta to present a plant sapling to Dr. Swarupa, DG, National Institute of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, and welcome her to our today's program. Once again, requesting everyone to please get settled. For those of you who are outside, if you can hear me, we have begun the session. Please be back. And I'll invite you now, Shri Avinash Gupta, for the welcome address.
Hi, morning everybody, or is it good afternoon already? There's a request from some people on the dais to reduce the air conditioning, if it's possible. It's the, so on behalf of my co-panelists, I've put that forward. Morning, good to see everybody. We were just chatting among ourselves. It's good to kind of be meeting in person. You know, for some of us who unfortunately or fortunately travel a lot in life, we've lived a lot in these hotels and these are nice homes for us. So it's good to be here. So good to see you all and thank you for your time. I mean, what I heard from that, you know, we are trying to wrap up at 1:30. And we have a lot of us here on the stage who have lots of comments to share. So I don't know how we're going to do that. And I had some prepared comments as well. So maybe I will shorten my comments and then we can take it from there. And maybe my welcoming remarks, I'll also try to make it in such a way that I don't cover too much stuff. So leave a lot for my other panelists also to add on. So let me begin. Should we settle down, guys, at the back? You want to sit down? Okay, so you know, I think you know, a lot of people have talked about stuff in the morning. People talked about the disruption of COVID. You know, we know all of that, but you know, stats are very revealing. You know, GDP is regressed by 5 years. GDP per capita globally is regressed by 5 years. These are very serious kind of numbers, right? And DNB, we have something called a COVID-19 disruption tracker, and that peaked at around 70% in April 2020. Excuse me, sir. Thank you. If you'd like to chat, you can go out. and it averaged around over 2021 at 35%. So, you know, things are getting better, but clearly they're not as good as they were pre-pandemic. You know, equally the World Bank, which does a lot of studies and surveys, has tracked data on 60 countries where company sales have plunged by 45% in the key period of April to September 2020. And then later, you know, things got better. They were around 25%. So that's all the negative stuff. That's history. I guess the good thing here today, the positive stuff is that, you know, whatever you say, and I guess some of the other companies and boards I work on, last week we had a board meeting where a European person is a partner. And when you tell them that India is growing at 8.5% or planning to grow at 8.5%, these are like numbers which they like just dream of. So the good thing is that, you know, India is expected to be one of maybe the fastest growing economy globally, which is, of course, you know, has a huge impact on everything we do in business. And more additionally, I think, you know, India is really striving to be a global, much larger global economy in terms of size. So, you know, whatever the number be it 5 trillion or whatever it is, and whenever we get there, but that's an aspiration. So these two things clearly are a big thing, and MSMEs can play a big part in that, right? I think the minister quoted in his comments that, you know, MSMEs make up 30% of the GDP today. And what I had picked on was that they were hoping to make it 40%. And this morning he said 40-45, and my Hindi is not so good, but 45 I think means 45. So, you know, if the MSMEs are going to be 40 to 45% of the economy, and the economy is going to be $5 trillion, the MSMEs are going to be at least $2.5 trillion in size. And when you look at that size, you know, $2 trillion is bigger than most GDPs of many countries, be it in Europe, be it in Spain, be it even in Russia, be it in Australia. So that's huge, right? $2 trillion of GDP just coming from the MSMEs is huge. And I'm sure we'll get there as the overall, you know, overall economy rises. So I think that's the benchmarks we are setting ourselves. I think in the morning session, people touched upon some of the stuff, the good stuff, very coordinated stuff the government had done in terms of, you know, help for the MSME sector. I mean, much needed, I guess, and maybe more of that may come through. And, you know, that's all useful. Maybe some of the summary comments I can make, you know, and again in the morning, I think people touched upon the whole supply chain side, the disruption COVID-19 has caused, and obviously what the current crisis is causing. And I think these things are very systematic changes. They're going to remain. And out of panic, out of, you know, mayhem lies the opportunity. So in many ways, I think there are a huge amount of opportunities. And I was sharing something with some of my co-panelists this morning on this company where we had the board meeting last week, where the European is a partner. You know, the cost of doing business in India is 1/10 the cost of doing business in Europe. This company is a foundry, heavy foundry business, and it's a business based in Slovakia. And you know, Slovakia, Poland are all next to the border with Ukraine. All the guys who work in the business and the factories there are mostly Ukrainians. They've actually gone back to fight the war for their country. So there is nobody to work. So forget the cost, which was 10 times, there are no people available as well. So there's a huge opportunity in these markets, you know, where there's so much disruption happening, for India to kind of step up and take that share. We need to do that. So this pandemic, you know, geopolitical change, when I grew up, you know, Paul Kennedy's book, I don't know if you guys read it, Rise and Fall of Nations. I mean, you know, that is all playing out right now. And it's really for India in many ways in the MSME sector to really step up and take that space. So I think that would be something to focus about. You know, I think some of the other things people touched upon in the morning, we have a Dun & Bradstreet survey. And out of that, you know, 4 out of every 10 MSMEs say that, you know, the top challenge to them is access to markets. So, you know, all of us, there are many people like us who try to help people get better access to market, find better clients, do it more easily. And I think there's a lot available in terms of making that happen. People, MSMEs don't use that. And research is available which demonstrate that, you know, for every 1 extra day you spend on a business information portal, your sales go up. So I think it's a very important thing for people to understand, get educated, and be able to use the tools, use the information, use the data which is available. And these are all available. They're not expensive. These are all pay for use. You don't have to subscribe to anything. And there are many, many people in the market who you can make this available from. I think one last comment, just in interest of time, that I'll make, again, something new which you'll again see a lot of interest on, is the whole focus on ESG. ESG has been around for a while, CSR has been around for a while, but in the world we sit in, we are a listed company. When money talks, all of us have to listen and we have to walk. So the money has started talking around ESG, capital markets, investors, and when banks start looking at ESG, and a lot of global banks have stopped funding coal projects, for example. There's just not more money available for that. So when capital starts talking, it leads to a different kind of discussion. And ESG, I think, is going to become very relevant. MSMEs who can start focusing on ESGs, because we can see the pressure coming from our larger clients on their supply chain. So again, if you use it as a pure governance tool, you will really benefit rather than just using it as a kind of a tick box exercise for yourself. So maybe I'll close here with some of my opening comments. I know I've got Sanjay very eager to speak, so maybe I'll hand over to you. I don't know if you do that, but thank you again for being here, and look forward to an engaging discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I'll now invite Mr. Sanjay Notani, Partner Economic Laws Practice, to kindly address the gathering. Let's all welcome him, everybody.
Good afternoon, members, respected members on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. In the interest of time, I'll keep it very, very specific to the topic which we are here for, which is going global. Now, very quickly, coming from my profession, which is a lawyer, lawyers only fight, but excuse me, we are trade lawyers. What do trade lawyers do? Trade lawyers are here helping governments, helping private bodies, helping associations around the world to move exactly what we want. This is from the power centers, as we know, what happens in Washington, what happens in Brussels, what happens in Beijing, is to try and see how could we help our business to grow. How do we defend our business even when challenges are there? So you may have heard this institution such as WTO, which is pretty much dead now. However, today, bilaterally, also when we are talking, there are countries with whom we are doing trade, inbound and outbound. We have opportunities, we have challenges. US, China, Russia, Ukraine, all of these are headwinds, turbulences, but in all of this, we need to find some way. And last and not the least, challenges, disputes create opportunities. And let me be very honest with you. I, of course, clearly do not like to see what is happening on the ground in terms of the war, but definitely there's a lot of opportunity for us as businesses, which is the MSMEs, which is as India. Now let's very quickly go to some statistics and numbers, and I usually don't look at numbers too much because numbers keep on changing, and today's number may be not necessary tomorrow. But the 2-3 things which are very important for us to understand here is that if we are 30 to 40% of the GDP and we want to grow as much as we want to grow, then what is required? Statistics. Now let's look at the statistics. As far as India's overall share in exports is concerned, US is about 15.30, UAE is 11.50, Hong Kong is 4%, China is 3%, UK is 3.4%, and the rest is 40%. Which are the markets that come to your mind that you want to export? Today, India is signing UAE, which we have signed. Fastest FTA agreement Indian government has signed, 88 days. Now, what is our opportunity there? Let me be very honest with you. The opportunity is in last 1 week, we have had clients talking to us saying 30% or 40% of the wheat exports from Russia used to come to Middle East, GCC, destroyed. Sanctions, we will not buy. Any alternative market? Talk about it. Dairy and egg products used to come from Russia, absolutely out. Steel, foundry, all these are traditional markets which used to be Russia. It's gone. US will not allow you to touch. Your banks will not allow you to touch those markets. What is our option? So we need to now see the challenges, we need to see the opportunities and grab as much as the space we want to grab as quick as possible. And of course, given that we are import dependent and much of our reserves in terms of foreign exchange go for oil, but as an exporter of goods, services and technology, if I'm getting 77 rupees to my dollar, I'm very happy out here. So these are the kinds of things we need to start talking about. Now let's get to the rise to the challenges. And as a trade lawyer, when I was part of the government delegation to RCEP, and we were negotiating with China, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, some of these very new countries with whom we have not had discussions on a global multilateral agreement, you see the kind of thinking which they carry to the table. And this is some prescriptions which I will talk about it, but of course it's definitely going to be a public partnership, which is, of course, the government needs to take some policies around, and definitely we need to be ready to play that game with the government in order to access these markets. First is accessing markets. Avinash, of course, spoke about market data. You know, how do we sort of find which are these markets? Now the question here is, lack of market information and lack of business contacts really hurt all of us. Question here is there a way that we can, grab some of these opportunities as fast as possible? Countries today, when we negotiate with, they come with an amber list. On every tariff line of what we are importing, what they are exporting, they have three sort of signals: red, amber, and green. Green means we will negotiate. Amber means we will think about it if it comes to. Red, non-negotiable. Now the question is, if this is the way they come, question for us is, today between India, UAE, negotiations are on between India and Australia. We are going to talk to GCC surely. We are going to talk to UK. We are going to talk to Canada. What are the kinds of things you want to access this market for? Please be ready with your data. Please help the government to discuss that these are the products which we would like to export. And therefore, it's important to use today's given opportunity which we have, these FTAs, to try and make the space. As far as the FTA agreements, I'm looking at it. Some of them definitely, which we have seen in the past, have not matched as much as what we have to match. Why? Because looking at the countries which we have had some of these FTAs like Japan, Korea, what do they come back with? They come back not on the duty tariffs. They come something back to us on saying non-tariff barriers. Now what are these barriers? Barriers are standards, barriers are labor, and today the new FTAs which we are signing, earlier we used to take wars on tariffs. That war is over. The war used to be on standards, that war is over. Today when US and EU are going to be talking to us, they are going to be talking to us on labor standards. What is a labor standard? They are not going to allow you to access this market if your labor standards are not up to the mark. Question is, yes, the government is coming out with new labor regulations. Question is, how quickly can we adopt it rather than, defend it and fight against it and challenge it, get to the bandwagon so that early enough we become the first movers of advantage to access those markets. Second, environment. Now, I can say environment is a very easy issue. But today concepts as ESG, concepts as pollution, concepts as this, those countries are going to expect that if you are really on the right line, we will allow you to access these markets. Otherwise, sorry, we are going to stop you. So questions like this is very important to address, that what are the kinds of issues today are we looking at, but tomorrow, if our idea is to be global, then talk about today. Don't talk about 10 years back. What people used to do will not work. We need to look at today's opportunities and today's challenges to see how quickly can we use this so that early enough we can become the unicorns of the world, we can become the best sellers of the world, and definitely we can be part of the GVC. This is where the opportunities are. Coming on GVCs, of course, they are driven by technology, they are driven by cost efficiencies. Of course, cost is the most important efficiency tomorrow if you need to tap that market. Because unless and until it doesn't make sense in terms of the cost, nobody is going to tap for us. Access to resources and markets trade policy reforms. Now, all these are good, but we need to, very quickly grab some of this. In terms of ethical trade incentives, today US and China are talking about human rights. Let me be very honest with you. We have seen in the past countries like US, who we think are one of the biggest democratic countries, but they also have human rights issue. And very quickly they raise these issues against India, saying your human rights issue is not up to the mark. Now the question is, how do we get this straight? These are wars, these are trade wars. But in these trade wars, if today US and China are fighting, Russia is going to be fighting the world, question is, can India, under the leadership of Mr. Modi and his government, using the diplomacy, is there a way we can, grab these places? Answer is yes. Today, when we are talking about emerging technologies, AI, we are talking about all of this. Question is, how can we incorporate this technology at half the cost? Yes, that is an investment. And I'm not going to be talking about access to finance and stuff, because that is not my area. But definitely the question is adopting these technologies, lowering the cost, accepting certain transparencies in your system. These are the kinds of issues we need to be incorporating our business. And finally, I'll end it with a very humorous issue on diplomacy. And this is the way the diplomacy works, and this is the way we need to use basically our government. There were 4 people. One was an old lady, one was a young lady, one was a young lawyer, and one was a senior lawyer, all 4 traveling in a train. Now, unfortunately, the young lawyer wanted to celebrate 14th of February with his girlfriend. But unfortunately, the senior lawyer said, forget about Valentine's Day, you need to travel with me for business. Now, he was very angry. The train passes through a tunnel. Once the train passes through a tunnel, suddenly there is a noise of a slap and a hit. Now look at the perspectives. The old lady says, what is this generation? While I'm sitting in the train, these people are kissing and slapping, and what is going on? The young lady says, I'm sitting young lady here, and God knows whom they are kissing and slapping. Now come to the third perspective. The senior lawyer says, it's such a sad event that my young lawyer kisses and I get the slap. But the young lawyer says, it's very easy to tap it and slap your senior and get your way out. So this is the way diplomacy works. How do you silently get your way out in business? This is exactly what we suggest. And thank you. And in the interest of the time, I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Notani. Dr. Ramanand N. Shukla, Director, Z Quality Council of India, is next. Please welcome him, everybody.
A very good afternoon to everyone here. Ladies and gentlemen, before I begin, I would also like to congratulate all the winners of this award. You all have worked very hard, you have put in a lot of efforts, and you are showing the way to our MSME brethren to take the things forward in a very conducive manner so that you show the path to them. So now we have seen a lot of statistics, we have heard about a lot of statistics, but as I begin, I would share some few highlights of key statistics. As far as the share of export is concerned for specified products of MSMEs in year 2019 and 20 and 2021, it was around 49.8% and 49.5% respectively. Now, one of the most important aspects of the MSME sector is that around 50% of the total MSMEs operate in rural areas, and they provide 45% of the total employment. Now, that is significant. Being in the rural areas, providing a lot of employment, the MSME sector is contributing towards removing the disparities that we have, and that is what we expect the MSMEs to keep on doing and enhance their work. However, one of the interesting facts here is that the micro enterprises, they employ more than around 97% of the people. Now, this is very interesting because this also relates to the problem of the missing middle link, that is what we call the missing middle. It suggests that the micro firms have actually failed to graduate or grow to the medium, small, medium, and large industries. They have actually stayed where they have been for decades. And this seems to have kept the micro sector bereft of enjoying the economies of scale, the investments into the fixed assets, adoption of technology, and innovation. Now, there have been several challenges why they have not been able to move ahead on this ladder of small, medium, and large enterprises, why they have not been able to grow further. Now, in spite of all these challenges and also the impact of pandemic that we have recently seen, this sector is actually poised to make a significant contribution with normalcy being returning back, although cautiously and gradually. As we have heard since morning, Honorable Minister, the Secretary, and our other speakers, they have mentioned that the government aims to enhance this MSME contribution to the GDP from about 30% to 45%. The government had been aiming it to be 50% when they announced it. But even if we reach 45%, it would be really a great leap ahead. This also aims to create around 5 crore additional jobs, where the sector is already providing jobs to around 11 crore people. Therefore, the growth of MSME sector will be very vital to also achieve our vision of becoming a $5 trillion economy. Now, for this robust growth, the government has taken a lot of initiatives. We have heard from the additional secretary that the Ministry of MSME has come up with specific schemes for the MSMEs, like the RAM scheme, the innovative schemes. There are also schemes that are being upscaled, like the zero defect scheme, the lean scheme, and I'm sure these all are going to have a greater impact. Now, along with these several initiatives for MSMEs, the government has also, one of the schemes or the initiative that has been launched, which I believe is very promising, is the PLI scheme, the Productivity Linked Incentive Scheme. And the scheme is with a total outlay of INR 1.97 lakh crores spread across 13 sectors. Now, as per the government, minimum production in India, because of the result of PLI schemes, is expected to be over $500 billion in 5 years. Now, why this becomes important is because the PLI scheme has the potential to create backward linkages. And this backward linkage will actually benefit MSMEs immensely. Now, the government has been taking a lot of bold steps, a lot of bold measures in terms of policy measures. But then the MSMEs, if they have to take, if the MSMEs wish to get on board to take or avail these opportunities, they will have to also make sure that they develop relevant capabilities that would be required to take up these opportunities. So to do this, first thing that I recommend for the MSMEs is focus on quality and quality standards. One of the things when we talk about quality encompasses almost everything, whether it is the environment, whether it comes about the product safety, quality has to be there. How do we do this? We need to understand and adopt the global standards and also enhance the compliance towards these standards. Now, standards related measures, as Sanjay ji just mentioned, they have been used as non-tariff barriers in international trade. Now, these are also considered as one of the most prominent non-tariff barriers because we have seen how China, how developed nations have used these standards to make sure that the products from developing countries, they lose their competitiveness in terms of meeting those requirements. Now, despite having a vibrant economy and several multinationals, the sad part is the Indian MSMEs still find it challenging to meet standards and conformity assessment criteria demanded by the developed nations. So this is my first recommendation to MSMEs. Please focus on the quality standards, make use of the schemes of Ministry of MSME, the government, the Z scheme, lean schemes, all innovative schemes, IPR, focus on these things. These will help you to actually move further and meet the requirements of global standards and developed nations. The second takeaway, the second recommendation, which all the speakers have been talking about, is adoption of technology. Technology has an innate ability to amplify productivity and quality apart from adding to the resilience. Now, pandemic, we have seen the organizations that were better equipped with technology, that had adopted technology, they were able to better cope up with the pressure. Further, technology and digitalization also enhances business avenues. Like many MSMEs, they actually came on board the government e-marketplace, the GEM portal. And in fact, during the pandemic, the number of MSMEs that came on the GEM portal almost doubled. And that is the significance of these portals, and they have been doing pretty well. So this is something which is the third important, this is the second important recommendation that I wanted to bring in. And the third recommendation for the MSMEs that I would like to put up here is capacity building. Now, MSMEs, they need skilled and competent people, and they've been struggling to actually have these kind of capacities, because these are the people who would actually drive innovation and also drive these businesses. Now, to see this in perspective, how capacity or how skilled labor helps the industry, the services sector in India, we have seen how it has grown faster than the manufacturing sector. And it's mainly because the availability of skilled labor in the services sector is far better than the manufacturing sector. So that is where the skilled labor, skilled manpower, that plays an important role. So we have to focus on three things. Number one, we have to make sure that we are able to create world-class products, quality products by adoption of quality standards. We need to adopt technology at an accelerated pace, and we need to focus on capacity building to have skilled labor and skilled people in the organizations. These will become the key enablers to help MSMEs get on the growth trajectory, helping us realize the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, these three enablers would certainly help, but then as we are getting back to the normalcy from the pandemic, we have another concern on hand, that is the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And as Sanjay spoke about the opportunities also coming because of this conflict. Now, there would be a lot of challenges that we would be facing very soon. For example, the war has led to the rise in crude oil prices. We have seen how the prices have actually shot up and touched around $139 per barrel from roughly around $77 in a very short time. And also due to this conflict, the monetary conditions have tightened globally, and the US Federal Reserve is about to start raising the interest rates. This will lead to interest rates going up everywhere across the globe, and that will further lead to depreciation of the currencies, including INR. And these factors will actually impact the cost of doing business, and more so for our MSMEs. So here, I would suggest, and I hope, that the government, along with RBI, would ensure that the interest rates and the availability of funds doesn't become a problem for the MSMEs. And I'm pretty hopeful that the government, as it has been taking bold decisions, they will take care of this as well. So to conclude, although we are witnessing a rapidly changing environment, world order, which also keeps on throwing new challenges, it also provides windows of opportunities that can be exploited well by our MSMEs, as we've been striving to do. But this will only happen if we have the right capabilities, if we have the right capacities with us. Then only we'll be able to fulfill the demands that would come from the market globally. So with this, I conclude, and thank you so much for your hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla. Next speaker is Ms. Jayati Singh, Global Head of Marketing at Tally Solutions Private Limited. I'll request all of the speakers to kindly keep it brief in the interest of time. I'm being told that the Honorable Minister will be here in about 15-20 minutes. I know it's practically impossible for everyone to speak in that much time, but let's try and keep it crisp and short. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll oblige. I'll keep it really short, and I think it's a peril of having so many speakers in one session. And where all the points are already spoken, so it leaves very little for the others to kind of do, and therefore keeping it very short. I'm Jayati Singh, and I represent Tally Solutions, and I currently head the global marketing for this company. And Tally, as you know, is a pretty household name for the MSMEs across India and the 100 countries where our product is being used by over 5 million users. So it's great to be here amongst all the industry leaders, dignitaries, and all the MSME award winners. Big congratulations to all of you. We've already had a lot of statistics shared around how MSMEs really are the backbone of the Indian economy. And this topic today here being around enabling Indian MSMEs to go global, in this specific session around how we're seeing the bouncing back. In the last session and this session too, we've heard of a lot of policies, lot of government impetus, which has gone into making the MSMEs rebound after the last 2 years of really tumultuous time that everybody faced, right? So those policies and everything, they're bound to give that shot in the arm to the sector, no doubt. But to really make that intent come alive, I think the two specific things that really matter, right? Now in Tally, working with so many MSMEs, we constantly do these researches, right? We talk to them, we try and figure out what are the key barriers, what are the key challenges that they're facing. And few things that really stand out around that is the whole thing around awareness, right? So awareness about all the policies, of all the benefit schemes and things that are launched by the government, by industry in general. So there's that gap in that last mile awareness to the businesses, which currently is something that we need to work on, right? So education and awareness becomes very, very critical. Now we talked about how education, about the global standards, about getting skilled labor, all that is needed. And that is available, honestly speaking, it's available in the portals, right? There's so many portals, there's so many things that we are seeing, various initiatives happening. But the fact is that how many people get to know about it? So education becomes important, and that is where, associations like ASSOCHAM, so companies like Tally, they can help conducting sessions. We conduct sessions around, let's say, the budget session that happened, and not less than 1,000 people attended each one of them. To really, because people are information hungry, they do want to know. The only thing is, are we making those avenues available for all of them to really get that information ready, right? The second point is all about accessibility. So we talked about awareness and education about the various things and the various requirements to really have a strong footing in the global market. But the second thing is around accessibility. Now, in terms of accessibility, what is it? We talked about being, having the customers. How do we find access to the global customers? How do we find access to the, the capital requirements and the credit line extensions, right? So for making that accessible, I think an important part there is the digital literacy, right? Because so many schemes, so many things are accessible when you go onto the portal. But for that, MSMEs would need that digital awareness, that digital literacy and education. So that transformation in terms of automation, and we've seen that in the last 2 years, we've really seen the businesses which have adopted and embraced automation and technology really being the ones which have been, managed to stay afloat. So that this becomes absolutely imperative. Right, so these basically are the important things. Using portals like GEM, it's a great one. It's really heartening to see that already 7 million customers, or rather MSMEs, have already enrolled on Udyam. So these are heartening things, but I think that last mile thing is primarily the element that we need to kind of make easier. And the third point around, again, accessibility is the piece around the regulatory and the taxation avenues, right? Here, all said and done, there are a lot of initiatives which have been happening to make this simplified, but I think there's a lot more that can be done. So in a nutshell, I think I just bring back the focus on working together as industry, as associations, and as government to make sure that the awareness and education of making everybody aware of the various schemes and initiatives that are taking place being there. And the second thing is making the accessibility, making the ease of doing business, ease to information, all that happen fast. And with that, I have no doubt that yes, the MSMEs are slated to bounce back in this year. And all that we're talking about, the 5 trillion economy or the 45% contribution to the GDP will no longer be a dream. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Singh. Next, we have Shri Akshith Khandelwal, founder and CEO at Newflower Foods and Nutrition Private Limited.
First of all, I would just like to thank the ASSOCHAM team for inviting us here, but also for all the awards that were bestowed upon us. It is truly a privilege and an honor to be recognized for all the work we've been doing at Newflower for the past 2 years, and in the space of MSME and the startup area. I will also try to be as brief as I can, simply because a lot of what I wanted to say has already been said. But before that, let me just give you a quick introduction about what I do and what my company does, and then maybe I can quickly get to the point that we are trying to talk about. My name is Akshith Khandelwal. I'm the founder and CEO of Newflower Foods and Nutrition Private Limited. What we do is we are a manufacturer of lipid-based medical therapies that we make for children that are severely acute malnourished, but also people who haven't had access to food and nutrition for extended periods of time. Essentially, it is a form of humanitarian assistance, but conducted through very formal and organized supply chains. So our clients, they tend to be UNICEF Supply Division, World Food Program. We also deal with the World Health Organization, Red Cross, Save the Children International, and so on and so forth. Our products, they go to places like Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Somalia, and so on and so forth. Most of our revenue, over 95%, it comes from exports. So that's what we do as a company. Now, COVID, when it happened, also impacted us, but not so much on the demand side. We were privileged enough to be in a sector where the demand for our product actually stayed the same, and in many cases also went up. But from the supply side, of course, just like the rest of the economy and just like a whole lot of the export sector in our economy, we suffered because of shipping costs and all sorts of commodity inflation. Now, however, we have the Ukraine crisis, the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And in my opinion, I think that crisis is probably it's going to have 5 times the toll of COVID. Because essentially what the Western sanctions on Russia in response to its military intervention in Ukraine, they have done is they have taken out a country that supplies 20 to 30% of all the commodities in the world, and they've taken it out of the world economy, the world market. What does that mean for India? Because we import a lot of our energy requirements and we import a lot of metals as well. It means that there's going to be severe inflation, steep supply side driven inflation of commodities such as wheat, corn, edible oil, crude oil, natural gas, and the rest is and practically every other commodity, and I think it's pretty obvious. Now, what I wanted to talk about in this discussion is a few ways what MSMEs can do and startups can do to basically deal with the crisis level situations that we have today and come out swinging. So the first thing I feel is, again, I will be drawing a lot on the experience of my company as well. Now, the first thing I feel that we should do is ruthless diversification. I think all of us, we should look at the clients that we are serving, see what sort of other products and services we can serve to those clients and try to work on them. Then we should also look at the production capability, service capability, whatever competency that we have as a company, and see what sort of clients we can service with them. right? So we need to really think outside the box and monetize every aspect of our capability in our company. And in Newflower, one of the things that we did was we had our main business is the manufacturing of medical therapies. And what we started doing in the past 1.5 years is started a private label division, which seems to be going well and is giving us decent cash flow now. The second thing is obviously something that has been spoken about by multiple speakers here, which is a quality-focused export orientation. If India has to be a great power, we need to be a manufacturing power. If we have to be a manufacturing power, we have to be an exporting power, right? And the only way to have sustainable access to foreign markets, to have a reputation for yourself, is for MSMEs to be quality-oriented, quality-focused. And I think more than anything, I mean, it definitely involves adoption of technology, definitely involves learning the best practices, but more than anything, it's about culture. We need to just change the way we look at quality, anything. I mean, we need to sort of whip ourselves a little bit on this regard. And one of the things that, for example, in Newflower, what we did was we go through very stringent, because we export most of our produce, and we have European buyers, so we go through a stringent GMP audit on an annual basis. And what that has led to a culture in our company where we have zero tolerance for any sort of deviation, you know, any sort of planned, unplanned deviation. The third, of course, again, this was talked about by the Honorable Minister who graced us with his presence earlier today, which is import substitution. That is extremely important. If anything, the Ukraine crisis teaches us is that the just-in-time globalization supply chain is deeply, it's not entirely safe for a country's national security. Other countries can sanction us, they can do all sorts of stuff. We cannot be so import reliant. So what I would urge all MSMEs here to look into their industries, look into their sectors, see what areas are being imported extensively in India, and try to import substitute and build an Atmanirbhar Bharat. I am a big fan of the government's agenda of building a self-reliant India. And of course, the last thing, the fourth thing is obviously, again, spoken a lot, and I'm just going to quickly skip over it, which is technology adoption, and what I'm really talking about, because I come from a manufacturing background, and what I'm really talking about here is there is no reason why MSMEs should not get into things like ERPs, systems, and all sorts of other data collection modules, even at a very early age. Usually the transition happens when you cross a certain revenue limit. I think it needs to happen much before, because the products are now very cheap. SAP is not the thing that you have to go for. There are so many small-scale ERP, very affordable ERP software out there, because everything is going to be monetized. Big data, AI are coming, whether you like it or not. They're going to change every industry. So you need your data monetized as soon as you can. And the last thing that I have in terms of suggestions for how we can ride out the kind of context that we are living in today is that we should always have faith in what I call, and what I've heard other entrepreneurs like Elon Musk call, the first principles approach, which is, as MSMEs and as startups, we will always be in a situation where we are pressed for time and money. We will never have the kind of resources that a big corporation has, where, you know, they can spend a lot of money on research, get fancy managers from a competitor. We will never have that. Well, we've got to work with the limited resources that we have, but we still have to chart the uncharted. We always have to explore the unexplored. And it will always mean that we are dealing with concepts, technologies, markets, and products that frankly we don't know much about. But what we should do is we should have faith in ourselves and just try to solve the problem. It should not be that because I have not worked in this market, or because I don't have people who've not worked in this market, I'm not going to go for that market, right? Or go for that product, or incorporate that technology in my processes. I think we should just simply have faith in ourselves, have courage in ourselves, be like the sailors who discover unexplored land, and then just solve the problem, right? And that's pretty much all I have to say in terms of what we all could do. to manage and come out of, to basically sail through the kind of context that we are living in. I would just say, just to conclude my speech, a few more things, which is that I think one of the best things about us, all of us, is that we are living in a country which is an island of macroeconomic stability, in a world where I see so many countries facing balance of payments crises. I see countries where their currencies are crashing. I see countries which are radically indebted. Today, India has a $3 trillion GDP. On a purchasing power parity level, it's an $8.5 to $9 trillion GDP. And we have good forex reserves, I think over 550 billion. So we are in a pretty decent state. And even our inflation rate, when you benchmark it with what's happening all over the world, is not that bad. And I think more than anything, that is the advantage that we all have, to be in India and to be in an economy which is fundamentally stable when compared to what's happening everywhere else. And in terms of what policy movements that the government could take, I personally think that one of the things that we should do, a few things actually. One is obviously we should avoid signing FTAs with countries where there is a structural disadvantage to a manufacturing base, and we should sign FTAs with countries where we know that the exports will outpace the imports. And I think that's what the government is finally moving towards. The second point is, I think export incentives should be back on the table. For whatever reason, the export incentives that were given to export-oriented industries were cut back, reduced over the past 2-3 years. I think they should be increased, because India will, of course, need a lot more forex now to import all the energy that we need. And I think on a national level, because of the commodity inflation that is going to come in the next 6 months, I think we need a strategy in terms of how we can control the commodity prices, so that the MSMEs are very safe. Because with us, we can't have a compression of our EBITDA margins for more than 3 or 4 quarters at any point of time. And that's about it. That's pretty much all I have to say. So thank you so much once again to ASSOCHAM for the platform, and thank you so much to all the speakers on this day. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Khandelwal. Mr. Sanjay Kaushik, Managing Director, Netrika Consulting, is next. Let's welcome him.
Hi, thank you, and a very warm good afternoon to every one of you. It's really heartening to see a house full of a conference after the COVID and after the lot of, what we called as screen fatigue. A lot of people were going through those screen fatigues, and we were, looking at screen and tired and speaking to some, screens where people were not even showing their videos. It is very, very heartening to see these faces. So thank you so much for being here. And, there was a speech which I really made and my team made it, but I'm just going to avoid reading the speech. But what I'm trying to look at here is, first of all, is something which is, the topic here is where we're talking about going global, all the MSMEs, and something which we are looking here at is that what is that we are looking at as an MSME? What is that is going to take us global? And, on the dais, if you really look at, we have a lawyer, we have an DNB or a, database company, we have an Tally, all these people, but yes, what we are looking at is something which is the bottom line. And how do we look at the bottom line? How do we increase the bottom line? Something which we really look at, the company which I represent and which I work for, is something where we look at the frauds. The MSME, the private sector, the small enterprise are actually busy in making and growing their business. But then something which is eating onto the bottom line is somewhere which is the fraud, which is the pilferage, which is the theft, or probably the cyber theft, the data theft which is looking at. The smaller companies, the smaller organizations which are probably say 10 computers, 20 computers, 50 computers, a lot of people, they generally have certain myths in their mind as that, do we really need the cyber security? Do we really need to look at the data theft? Are the people who are on the dark web or the ransomware attack, are they only looking at the large corporates? Answer is no. Every single person, every small corporation MSME, everyone needs that security on cyber side. Everyone needs the policies and processes on the frauds, pilferage, theft. So if MSMEs can actually look into that side, that can actually help them to grow their bottom line, and which is that what every one of us looking at. We are going to global, we're looking at growing, expanding, diversification, but something which is a basic where everyone is missing is somewhere the frauds which are eating into the your bottom line. The MSME, the startups, and I've been big fan of that. I work with a lot of startups, and a lot of startups which have actually become the unicorns. We as a company work with most of them, and what I've seen is the startups, the promoters are busy growing their money. Their job is to expand the business, their job is to get the investments, their job is to look at the investors and the fundings and the VCs. But somewhere down the line, the people who they've entrusted down below, one person out of the entire team is looking for that opportunity where he can commit that fraud, from where that he can make that money, which is an easy money for him. I think that's where someone as an MSME really has to look at. I've been talking to a lot of startups, I've been talking to a lot of Indian smaller companies, but this is an area which is a big miss. We don't work on the policies and the processes, but we're too busy on growing the business. I think I'll just end it here because on the shortage of the time. Thank you so much, and it's lovely seeing you all here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kaushik. Shri P. Uday Kumar, Director Planning and Marketing, National Small Industries Corporation Limited is next.
Good afternoon to all of you. Indeed, it's my pleasure and privilege to be part of this MSME Export Award cum seminar organized by ASSOCHAM. I would like to first of all congratulate all the winners of this MSME Excellence Award organized by ASSOCHAM, and my co-panelists, award winners, MSME entrepreneurs from ASSOCHAM. The subject is whether MSMEs are bouncing back or not. I can tell you with data as well as with authenticity, MSMEs are already started bouncing back. The data indicates that. Although I have a presentation, I don't think I need to go through the presentation because of the shortage of time. In fact, going by our own experience, I represent a company called National Small Industries Corporation, a PSU who is in the completely A to Z space of MSMEs, starting from incubation up to the last mile. Last year, we achieved the best performance the last 5 years in terms of our bottom lines, and also our sales of some of our verticals. Besides, I think even if I go through some of the statistics, which are the key indicators, the UPI, Unified Payment Indicator, it is grown from, in 2019, it has grown from 121 crores to 418 crores in 2021. And also some other important factors like the tractor sales have gone up from almost 1,06,889 to 1,15,615. And also take the power consumption in terms of mega units. In 2019, it is 95,053. It had gone up to 1,04,25 in 2021. And also, if you see some more key indicators like bank credit. If you look at bank credit, like agriculture loan, as from 2019, it was from 11.4 lakh crore, it has gone up to 13.4 lakh crore. And large industries loan also has gone up significantly. And also one more silver lining is the last year post COVID is like the value of IPOs has gone up unbelievably. In fact, the amount raised in 21-22 is about 1,06,761 crore, as compared to 2019-20, which was only 37,677 lakh crore. So that's basically, I think these are all the very key indicators. There is no need for endorsement from anybody to show that, you know, we are bouncing back. And I think to add up, you know, like morning also where our Honorable Minister as well as Development Commissioner explained which are the new schemes. I do not want to repeat the schemes of Ministry of MSME. And one or two small things which I want to, it is my duty to inform you people. And in fact, there was a concern, there was also somebody was raising on which are the schemes for exports. In fact, now Ministry of MSME is launching a new scheme called Scheme for First Time Exporters, which is going to be launched anytime, which is going to give support of kind of a financial support for membership fee reimbursement, testing fee reimbursement, and also like a premium reimbursement from EGGC. So like, you know, the emergency credit line is already considered to be one of the huge successes and also like kind of a helping hand for the struggling MSMEs. Now, one more silver lining the MSME sector is actually like a scheme, which is a mega scheme, which we are planning to launch it on behalf of the Ministry of MSME, which is called Self-Reliant India Fund, which is a private equity fund, a growth fund. And this is the total outlay is going to be a whopping 50,000 crores the next 15 years. It's already, we have started doing the work on that, and it will be formally launched by Honorable Prime Minister any time. And this is going to be a growth fund, and MSMEs who are aspiring to grow further, and they can get this private equity infusion through daughter funds. Government has sanctioned 10,000 crores, and 40,000 crores is being mobilized through daughter funds. We have already started empaneling daughter funds, so we have almost 13 funds we have already empaneled, and we are in the process of empaneling more funds. And it is basically to boost up Make in India manufacturing in India. There's you know, there is a sectors preferred are traditional manufacturing sectors and also services. And I think all of you should look for it for the formal announcement. I think one should not wait to grab it, because it's going to give you a kind of a collateral free, you know, guarantee free fund infusion, your equity to up to almost 20 crore. So I think you know, like going by all those statistics as well as you know, the other key indicators, it is definitely we are bouncing back. And also like I will also like to, you know, raise one or two small bit of cautions like the raw material prices. That's one of the concerns of the MSME sector. In fact, the last 2 years post-COVID, the prices of raw material, key raw materials have gone up significantly, and that is to add to the woes. Like now, you know, this Ukraine war also further increase the prices, you know, like significantly. In fact, last week, 2 days back, aluminum prices are increased by almost 37,000 rupees per ton on overnight. So I think these are some of the concerns, but we are also thinking about you know, doing something on this pricing of raw materials. But the only thing is we are not come out this thing. And also from NSIC side, we have been doing, as I mentioned, we have been aggregating all possible supplies to the MSMEs. Be it as raw material, we are already doing it, and we are very competitive. We are also providing aggregation services of softwares for the MSMEs, machines for the MSMEs. We are providing financial supports. We also have technical centers and you know, like high technology centers, and also we provide technology services, of course at a very competitive rate. So our endeavor is to create a very positive ecosystem so that MSMEs are able to come back from the shock sooner, and so that, you know, like India will be able to achieve the 5 trillion economy what Prime Minister has been aspiring for. I think with this I would like to thank the organizers for giving this opportunity, and wish you all good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. It's time for me to now invite Dr. S. Glory Swarupa, Director General, National Institute of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Ministry of MSME. She's also one of the jury members. Let's all welcome her, everyone.
Namaskar. Honorable dignitaries on the dais, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to all of you, and greetings from National Institute for Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises, Ministry of MSME, Government of India, Hyderabad. My compliments to Assocham for organizing this wonderful event, and my congratulations to all the award-winning entrepreneurs and enterprises for your contribution to MSME sector. We are in the session of MSME growth set for a big bounce back. For the existing MSMEs to bounce back, we all need to support. That is the first thing. And the second thing is to bring in more and more teams to the coach so that the MSME sector would grow and contribute for the economic development of the nation. Our institution is celebrating Diamond Jubilee, 60 years in the services of MSMEs, along with Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And we are the executive arm of Ministry of MSME. We do a lot of policy advocacy, training, research, capacity building, consultancy, documentation, dissemination. I have few appetizers for all of us. I would like to share those things. As rightly mentioned by Ms. Singh, digital literacy is the need of the hour, and we are very much working jointly with the CII and MasterCard since 1.5 years. On December 9th, 2020, the then Honorable MSME Minister has launched the Digital Saksham. And on pilot basis, last year in the month of November, we have started in the state of Maharashtra. So for manufacturing, we have now a lot of Industry 4.0 technologies, the smart technologies and the future technologies, and we call emerging technologies. But for a micro entrepreneur or a woman entrepreneur who are illiterate or neo-literate, so how do they place their product on the online portal or domestic marketplace or to reach global markets? So we have been striving our best to take up this forward. So in spite of contributing a major chunk to India's GDP, the small and medium-sized enterprises sector operates on traditional inefficient methods of the operating business, and the low rate of technology adoption has hindered small businesses to achieve their potential. This is what the research reveals, that a preponderant number of SMEs not connected to the internet. The study also found that the digitization of MSME could expand their contribution to India's GDP by 10%. Hence, there is urgent need to create awareness among entrepreneurs, especially in the rural and semi-urban areas, regarding the basics of digital finances and marketing services. The digital environment is changing rapidly, and for micro enterprises, digital literacy is important opportunity to tap global markets, attracting the customers and engaging their interest and participation, retaining the customers, learning about customers' preferences, and relating to their changing needs are the key strategies in building stronger customer relationships. However, a lot of enterprises and entrepreneurs today still, they fear or they shy away from adopting digital platforms and media. The development practitioners or the government representatives, it's all our responsibility to take it forward to build a digital literacy MSME platform. The second one is, as I told, to add more teams to this platform, women entrepreneurs. As an institution representing Government of India, we have taken a strong decision to double the number of women entrepreneurs by 2025. There are approximately 67 MSMEs, and women run about only 8 million of them, and women run fewer than 13% of India's small businesses. So how do we double this number, at least 25% by 2025? So we are working in this direction. The proposal is under process for consideration by Ministry of MSME. Women business owners could potentially create 150 to 170 million jobs in India by 2030. India also ranks 70th among 77 countries covered in the female entrepreneurship interest as per the IWD-AGE report. For any entrepreneur to do a successful, profitable, and sustainable business, finances are very important. So we have 12 public sector banks and 22 private banks in India. All the banks put together, we have 1,17,065 branches precisely, because last year we did one study for Government of India as a question posed in the Parliament. Even if one branch promotes or supports one project or one entrepreneur in a year, at least 1 lakh enterprises are added to the economy. So can we have one branch, one entrepreneur concept in our country so that the MSMEs will go to the next level? I think our banker friends are here, Canara Bank. You can think positively. We have many SME branches, but all the branches, at least one entrepreneur in 1 year. And creating awareness to the bank officers and officials on MSME schemes is most important. That's what one of the outcome of our research during the pandemic. Most of the schemes implemented by Ministry of MSME, other line departments, are not being fully understood by the bankers. That's how the apprehension or the delayed or the rejections for the loan applications. So creating the awareness on policies, because we do a lot of policy advocacy to government, and creating the reason, knowing the reason for the rejection or the delays is very important, and bankers need to understand. So they do not extend financial assistance, that's what we say, but finding out the reason is also very important. A massive awareness drive should be announced to create awareness among the bankers, at least in SME branches, about MSME policies sponsored altogether by all the ministries from Government of India. And we are talking a lot about technology upgradation, innovations, startups. According to the ministry, India has 15,697 industrial training institutions, ITIs, in our country, functioning in the country, which includes government and private, according to Economic Times. Training is imparted in 73 engineering and 48 non-engineering streams, and the 5 courses exclusively for visually impaired students also. ITI trades and courses focus on skill development for students. They churn out the students and thus develop skilled workforce. So we were also mentioning about the gap or the lacuna, what industry needs with a skilled workforce. The most important advantage of opting for ITI courses is it enables the students to start own business or get gainful wage employment. The livelihood business incubation scheme implemented by Ministry of MSME, if it could be extended to the ITIs in the country, I think straight away we get a lot of skilled force or the self-employed entrepreneurs in our country. Another important scheme being implemented by Ministry is technology business incubation. If it is rooted through the engineering and technology institutions in India, because we have nearly 25 lakh students taking admission every year in various engineering colleges. As per the official statistics from All India Council of Technical Education for the year 2021, there are close to 6,052 engineering colleges with a total intake of 24 lakh students. If 1,000 technology business incubations are established, at least in 1,000 colleges on pilot basis in this particular year, academic year, straight away we get 1,000 entrepreneurs equipped with latest technologies of smart industry 4.0. We are one of the, I'm happy to share that, implementing agency in with the Government of India for implementing this innovation scheme, which is launched very recently. Another important area we are all looking for is the green energies. Can we power MSMEs with green energy? The government is committed to promote renewable energy sources in the country, especially more in MSME sector. Solar power rate in India is rupees 2.4 per unit, and commercial rate of power is rupees 11 per unit, and the cheap power generated through the solar energy can be used for automobiles and other development works. By making solar energy available, India will create big market for electrical vehicles. Once again, I'm happy to share that we are the implementing agency with one of the UNIDO schemes to reduce the carbon prints and to promote these green energies. One of the eminent speaker was also talking about the clusters. We are again the nodal agency for Spooty scheme of Ministry of MSME to promote rural clusters, and a lot of importance and emphasis was laid on toys cluster. So at present we are implementing 2 toys clusters, and any of the agencies here interested, you can join hands with us to promote more rural and agro-based clusters. The main point of import substitution, that the locally produced goods are replaced with the imported goods. However, in an export promotion strategy, the external demand is the source of activity. Under Atmanirbhar, emphasis is laid on manufacturing of toys. The ambitious mission will be accomplished if more toys clusters are encouraged by rural artisans. One more thought from our institution is, can we promote one women industry association from one state? We have a couple of industry associations, starting from Seva, that was the trendsetter. In Telugu states, we have 2, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Bihar, we have very few, but not in all the states, and I think none in Northeast. The growth and development of women entrepreneurs have accelerated because entrepreneurial development is not possible without the active participation of women. I hope all the gentlemen would agree with me. So a suitable environment has to be created for the growth of women entrepreneurs. The associations or institutions will play a pivotal role in growth and development of women entrepreneurs. So that is one of the mandated activity of our institution. And lastly, one village, one entrepreneur. Can we promote this? As told by the father of nation, India lives in villages. We have over 6,25,000 villages in our country. The petty shop are the petty business owners, both male and female, should be imparted skills to become a potential entrepreneur. So these are the things I would like to share at this platform, and we are ready for the collaborations and the networking to take up any capacity building to any segment or any sector or any trade related to MSMEs, also to carry forward the research, the need analysis, gap analysis, and the potential areas required for the MSMEs, and also to extend the consultancy, documentation, dissemination, and education programs. Thanks to all of you. If you would like to ask anything, you are welcome. And most importantly, you can visit our website to take the benefit of the activities of the institute. And when you happen to be in Hyderabad, you are welcome to our institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swarupa. For a formal vote of thanks, let me now request Shri Sushil Sauragi, co-chairman of the ASSOCHAM MSME Development Council.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. With Indian MSMEs, with the Indian economy growing at a much faster rate, and we are aiming to achieve 5 trillion economy, Indian MSMEs definitely have a very good potential to grow at a very fast rate, and also to explore various opportunities in the global market. But as many of the other eminent speakers have already spoken, that for achieving that, Indian MSMEs have to really improve upon themselves and to become competitive enough in various aspects to meet the global standards. And we in Core Energy India Private Limited is helping and working with various Indian MSMEs in achieving their ESG goals by providing them solar power solutions. This has been a wonderful session, and I thank all the distinguished guests and speakers on dais who have come here, and they have expressed their knowledge and shared their knowledge with all the eminent dignitaries over here. And I especially thank all the speakers on dais, Shri Avinash Gupta ji, Shri Sanjay Natani ji, Dr. Ramanand Shukla ji, Mr. Jayati Singh, Shri Akshith Khandelwal ji, Shri Sanjay Kaushik ji, Shri P. Jay Kumar ji, Dr. S. Gori Swarupa ji, for expressing their knowledge and sharing their knowledge with all the people who are present over here. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, National MSME Development Council, I again thanks everybody who has come here today in this important knowledge session on MSME growth set for a big bounce back. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, everyone. With that, we conclude the session on MSME growth set for a big bounce back. Let's all have a round of applause for all of our dignitaries here. We know the time was limited and we pressurized you to speak briefly, but we thank you once again for giving us your time. Thank you.